So they say kids today don't know the value of a dollar. Well, we're going to put that to the test today. And if you've been following us for a while, you may see a familiar face on today's episode. So welcome to the Five Squad. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Five Squad podcast. For those that don't know who I am, my name is Evan Andrews, and today I have a very special guest on with me. Today we have
Logan McMath.
Now, this is my son, and yeah, we have different last names, but sue me, right? But no, this is my son, Logan. He's been on the podcast before, but you have to go like way back to find his episode that me, him, and Haley all did in the other studio here at Panorama Brand Studio. But Logan, what do you think of the new setup?
It looks better. I like the chairs better too.
The chairs, yeah, not the table setup. I don't know. I like the table setup.
I like the tables, but I like the.
I think I like the table for like more than two people.
This looks like more like it gives like a home and welcoming vibe.
Would you say that it's lit?
Yes, it's very lit.
Awesome. Well, as we kind of did in the little intro there, today we're gonna talk a little bit about something that I know that you're kind of finding an interest in, and that would be money and finance.
Yes.
And we're gonna specifically talk about something that you just went through and a particular book that you read.
Right.
So what was the book that you just finished reading?
It was called Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki.
What did you think of the book?
I thought it was really eye-opening because, like, when I was reading it, it just, like, when you don't know something and then you learn it, right? You then feel like you felt so dumb before.
Yeah.
So then now I feel like so above my older, like, before I read it.
Yeah.
So now I just have to implement it.
So, I wrote down a few discussion points based on some research because I haven't read the book yet. I plan on reading the book, but I think you're rereading it again.
Yeah, I'm reading it again right now.
Do you get more out of rereading books? Or why do you think you're rereading it?
So I don't have anything else to read right now.
Okay, so you need another book?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And when I first read it, I have a little thing. I always skim. Sometimes I skim to the bottom of the page sometimes. So now I'm making sure to go through every line and get all of the information out of the book.
Get all the details, all the knowledge.
Right.
Awesome. Well, so I wanted to go over this first discussion point because I feel like it's something that you've kind of shown in the past that, your mother and I is kind of like, we kind of roll our eyes at it, right? So I know in the past you've asked us for things that are like luxurious brand stuff.
Right.
Right? Like clothes and things like that.
I'm wearing some right now.
Right. Oh, you're wearing some right now? You got your luxury stuff. Oh, he's got his Nike stuff on.
My Nike sweatpants.
Nike sweatpants. So I know one of the things in the book that it discussed is they talk about, buy luxury last, not first.
Right.
What was
Yes.
the overall ethos that you got out of that part of the book?
So, like, why would you spend your money on something, right? And you would lose that money. You would get your luxury item, right? But if you spend it on creating something that gives you money and then using that money you can either build that asset that you have or you can buy that luxury. So it's overall like you get something good out of it rather than just buying the luxury.
Sure. So you just said a key word there for us, and in the book you learned the difference between assets and liabilities.
Yes.
What's the difference? What's the biggest takeaway of the difference that you've got?
So at least for middle class especially, it goes into how you have to think about what liabilities are, and so people sometimes confuse liability or assets with important things. So like their house, that is actually a liability and not their biggest asset, because an asset is something that directly gives you money or some sort of information to give you money.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So one thing that I know, and I'm going to call you out here a little bit, right? Because I know that when you got a little bit of money in your pocket,
Yes.
you kind of like went off the walls on a Fun Food Friday at school and dropped a lot of what we used to call when I was a kid.
$36.
How much was it?
$36.
Dropped $36 on some pizza for some fools that probably never bought him a darn thing in his life.
They got me a Dr. Pepper.
They got him a Dr. Pepper for all of his hard trouble. So the point that I'm making here is, can you talk a little bit about how being patient with your financial decisions actually helps you in the long run rather than that like instant gratification like feeling?
Yes. So when you're instantly gratified by something, your brain just stops working, stops thinking about it. But if you wait, your brain has to think and then even rethink maybe. So you might make a decision, but even wait even longer. So then your brain starts thinking even more into it. So then you can find out if your decision that you actually make is really worth how much you're spending or how much time you're giving into it, because time you can't even get back.
Yeah. Well, if you've heard the old saying that time is money.
Right. True.
Right. Did they say that in the book at all?
No, actually, he didn't say that.
Nothing?
Surprisingly.
Nothing at all like that? Well, hey, well, you know, I guess that's why I need to read the book. But you do a lot of reading.
Mm-hmm.
You do a lot of reading. You're just now kind of coming into, because I think most of the stuff that you've read is like fiction, story-based stuff, fantasy stuff. Do you still like that, or now after reading this book, are you more interested in nonfiction stuff?
Well, I would like to read more financial stuff because I'm just I haven't even scratched the surface, as they say. So,
how deep are you looking to go in the financial area?
Well, you have a few books you were saying today.
The Hermosi's, Alex Hermosi's books. His are not necessarily around finance. They're more about building a business.
Right.
But I think that can correlate to finance a little bit, right? Depending on where you're at. But no, I'll let you read those for sure. I think you'll get, again, like I told you this morning, like if you think you might be an entrepreneur one day, they'll be really beneficial. If not, they might not, do much for you. But they're really easy to read. Got pictures and stuff in them. So I love picture books.
It's kind of like you miss all the shots you don't take. So
boom, you
I
nailed
should
it.
read it anyways.
Yeah.
Yeah, just to get the information.
Yeah. No, 100%. So the next point, and he says this, Robert does in the book, is you become what you study. So reading a lot is really important.
Right.
What was he saying in the book about reading a lot and why it was important?
So I think what he meant about like you become what you study is what you are around, like the environment too. Because it's not just what you intake. He's had this graph about the learning. It's like a learning triangle.
Okay.
So reading and that is actually really low on the triangle. So something like talking and being within an environment is higher. Like doing the action is higher than the actual what is in the book. Like just reading it and writing it down on paper like it's school.
Yeah. No, we call that part of it information gathering.
Right. Yeah.
You can gather all the information that you want, but if you don't actually put actionable steps and actual items behind what you learn, then you kind of just wasted your time, right?
If you don't plan on doing anything with the information, then
100%. Which is why me and your mom a lot on this podcast, we talk about, getting help in areas that you need it. Right? Like, so for me, like I'm in a coaching program to help me better my business.
Right.
I am a coach. I help other people do the same thing with their businesses. Right. And not even just coaching. I mean, there's things like, therapy, right? That's kind of a form of being around, people and getting guidance where you need it. So I think you're spot on with what you said about the continuous learning side and being around the people that are actually doing, so that you're familiar with the term osmosis?
Oh yes,
where it's like
you
being
get,
around it, like
yeah,
you absorb it.
Yeah, you
right?
like absorb the information by being with someone or an environment with it.
So you read every morning,
Yes, I
right?
do.
Because and when did we start? When did we start implementing that?
It was either
5th grade?
late 4th grade or early 5th grade, I think.
4th grade. Wow. So do you think that starting something as simple as reading in 4th grade every single morning, obviously summertime's a little bit different. We'll give you a little bit of a break there.
Yes, thank you.
But do you think that's helped you kind of form habits that you necessarily didn't know that you could do for yourself, or because there's the other habits that come from that, right?
It's like a stepping stone in my morning routine and what I do.
Yeah.
Like when I wake up, I get dressed and then I go downstairs to eat and I brush my teeth, do the dishes, and then read.
There you go, dude. So what, and through reading, obviously, and that info gathering aspect, we can do a lot of studying,
Yes.
right? So in the book, do they talk about how you can learn from others and study others to, it kind of goes to what you were saying about being around people, but you don't necessarily have to be around them to get something from them.
Right.
Right? Like you can study other people to learn their habits, I toot my own horn here, boop, boop, but like kind of like I do and help you with by just doing the things that I do, kind of has that osmosis effect of you reading, doing the dishes, having that routine that sets you up for better days and better success. Now, we do have to clean up the after-school routine a little bit, I would say. And your mom would probably agree with me. And I'm sorry that I'm working when you get home and I can't really help you with that right now. But it's in due time. As we kind of keep going through everything, we'll make it happen. But another point that Robert makes in the book is you should from the beginning, you should, what does he say? You work to learn, not to earn. And I think this is a big part of like what kids get wrong these days, that they think that just because they do something that they should be compensated in some form or fashion.
Right. And the compensation, if you look at it, could be learning in itself. Like he worked at this company called Xerox, and it had a very good sales teaching, right?
Okay.
So like you go there, you get hired, and you learn the scripts and all of that stuff. And it was really good. And so he talks about how he was there for about 2-ish years, and then he was really high up, and then he quit his job. And so his poor dad, quote unquote, was like almost like enraged because he was making a lot of money, but that's not what he was looking for. He was looking for what he could learn from the company.
Yeah. Did it say why he quit? It's just because he didn't like it?
Oh no, to learn. He wanted to go. He went to the military, Marine Corps, and he told his father that he went there to learn how to fly, but he actually did it to learn how to manage people. So he wanted to become like...
He wanted to come like higher up in the ranks so he could have people under him?
Right.
How far up did he get?
It didn't say specifically.
Okay.
It didn't go into that.
Did it say that he got what he wanted out of going into the military?
I think it was in there for... I don't know, actually. I'm almost there in the book.
Again?
Yeah.
Where you're restarting? Okay. Well, maybe you'll figure it out going through it. But what would you tell your peers, your friends, the ones that you know that don't maybe think the way that you do, or the ones that think that just because they do that they should make money from it or whatever? What would you tell them in the advice that maybe you were given from the book?
Analyze more. See become more aware, because he was around 9 or 10 years old, or maybe a little older than that, and he was working for his rich dad, his friend's dad,
Okay,
for no money at all whatsoever. And so he had to think of a way to he wanted to make money. He didn't want to have work for zero
Sure.
and get nothing out of it. So one day the store manager was cutting up these comic books and giving them to the comic book manager for credit.
Okay.
And so he asked the comic book manager if he could use those comic books. And he said, as long as you work for the school, or not for the school, the company,
Okay.
or this market, or and you don't resell them. And so what he did was he opened basically a library where you pay 30 cents to get in, and you have 2 hours to read whatever you want.
Imagine, yeah.
Right. So and kids those days, they could read the comic books in 15 minutes, but the comic book back then was 30 cents. So you get 4 or 5 comic books that you can read with the same as buying a comic book.
That's wild.
And he was making $9.35 a week
Doing that
in
Wow.
1947 or something.
So he was living like a king.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that's wild. That's wild. So what was your give me a letter grade, maybe a number grade also on the book itself?
I would say it's a 9 out of 10.
9 out of 10. So you give it an A?
Yeah, an
90?
A.
No. Okay, cool. Well, I can't wait to read it. I got about 100 pages of the other book.
Oh.
And when I finish it, you should read it too, because it's really good. But that brings us to the end of another episode. Flew by, right?
It did.
You didn't even realize that
yeah.
we've already been sitting here that long. Yeah. So if you guys out there made it this far, if you have kids that are, anywhere from 13 to 15, 16, maybe even 18 years old, show them this, right? It'll be proof that, they can change the way that they think as young as they are. And have them read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, because it's a grade of an A from how old are you, 14? 13. I always think he's 14.
Age does not matter.
It's because you grew 9 million inches in about 3 months. So
yeah.
So yeah, again, anybody that got this far, we appreciate it. If you can interact with this, podcast, this video, wherever you might be listening, watching, tuning in from, we would greatly appreciate it. Leave us some comments, share it with your friends, anybody that you know out there that might have kids. But we want to leave you the same way that we leave you every day. And that is, remember that every day is a new chance to get it right.
And keep pushing forward and stay inspired.
See you next time.